Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Laser Performance post-race show, the recap of the APS 2014 College Nationals Team Sailing Championships, and it's in the books. Yale wrapped it up before the round of Final Four. They had a dominant past couple of days, but it was really exciting racing, and we want to thank you all for tuning in, and thank you for all the comments and the chats on live stream and, of course, at collegesailing.org. But enough of that. Let's get to the panels. What a great few days we've had here in beautiful St. Mary's, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, couldn't have asked for better conditions. St. Mary's, you know, their goal was to run one of the best team race nationals ever, and I think they got pretty close, if not achieved that goal. We had awesome conditions. The front that came through before the event was really well timed. We got all sorts of different breeze directions, some northerly, a couple days of sea breeze. So I think it really challenged all the sailors and tested them in a bunch of different conditions.
And, of course, Becca, it was nice to hear from you out on the water that some of your predictions were right on the money.
That's what I like to hear.
Some of
yeah,
them.
I think... I think, you know, echoing what Nick said, we also saw really high levels of competition. I think a lot of the teams, obviously Yale was a big standout this year, but other than that, the fight to get into the top 8, the fight to get into the top 4, and then, you know, in the Final Four was really, really close, and so that made for some really phenomenal racing the past 3 days.
Of course, John, we couldn't do any of this without our sponsors. Let's give them a big shout-out.
Absolutely. Well, so for putting this all together, Laser Performance, great stuff. Really, it's been a ton of fun. I know, like Nick and I were just talking, we just had a blast doing this, and it wouldn't have happened without the great crew here. So Kent, Colton, Dan, nice job. And then, of course, our main sponsor, Annapolis Performance Sailing. This is the APS College Team Racing Championships. So thanks again, APS. Go to their website. They deliver anywhere you want to get stuff. They have everything you need. So.
And, of course, college sailing, the level here is intense. Nationally, we've got some college sailors in this country. They throw down. They go on to do amazing things. We were talking a little bit before we went on air about the seniors that were here, that were battling it out in the round of 16, round of 8, round of 4. They'll be missed by their teammates, but they'll go on to do great things.
Yeah, totally. Hopefully this is the breeding ground of the best sailors in the nation, and certainly plenty of international sailors are coming to the U.S. now for the purpose of joining college sailing. So a couple shout-outs for some seniors. We looked down the list. A couple of ODU top crews, Chloe Constance, Julia Weisner. Also in Mesa, Navy had Michael Grove. He's a real standout for their team. He's really been a strong factor. For Yale, the champions, Chris Segerblom was dominant all weekend. We really liked the way he was sailing. Marlena Fowler did some crewing, as did Amanda Salveston. St. Mary's had 5 out of the 6 sailors were seniors. St. Mary's graduating a lot. Stanford, I think 6 out of the 15 sailors they sailed. So I guess you're bound to have a lot of seniors if you bring that many people. But standout group there. Tufts also some veterans. Will Hager, David Liedenberg, Pamela, Kathleen, and then Michigan. Our team, we've been hanging out with them a lot. We got to mention them. Will, Ryan, Scott, seniors graduating. We hope that program continues to thrive. Anybody out there, Michigan alums or whatever, keep donating to those guys. They need those dollars.
Great to see them pulling together, having so much fun. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, of course, and all the college sailors are having just so much fun. It's amazing. But really, today was about the Final Four. And, of course, you know the results was Yale, St. Mary's, Stanford, BC. What do we think about that final round? It was amazing.
Yeah, everybody pretty much tied going into it, except for Yale out in front, and so it was all on. We saw teams in the first flight take losses and then right away come out and dominate in the next one. So you know, we knew that it was going to be hard to win out in the Final Four. No teams did that, I don't think. And
I think St. Mary's did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Apologies. So
Yeah.
St. Mary's wins out
Seahawks.
to solidify second place, in especially that last race between them and Stanford. That was going to decide second and third. And in the last beat alone, I think we saw 4 different lead changes.
Yeah, that was intense.
After Stanford's rounds, Mark II, St. Mary's reels them in on the downwind, kind of predicted by my colleague Mr.
Downwinds.
Pierce.
Those guys are good on the downwinds.
And yeah, it was just so fun to watch.
Of course, Becca had you were up there at the finish. Tell us about the finish between the St. Mary's at the St. Mary's race in Stanford. It was intense.
Yeah, let's see what I can remember. I think a lot of the last beats were pretty exciting. I think you saw a lot of lead changes, not just in that race, but in a fair amount of the others as well. The umpires also coming into play sort of all around the course. So that final race, I think we saw someone spinning at the top, and that was certainly the case in a few of the others too. So umpires keeping it real and making sure it's fair, and that played a big factor.
It was really, I think Stanford had so much momentum. It must have been it was a grudge match really from race 3 of this 100. And how many races did we do? We did 154 races. And after they dropped a couple, they were on a mission to kind of climb back to, I think, what everybody thought they were capable of.
Yeah.
As in, when we came into the Final Four, they did look like the Stanford that we had expected. But St. Mary's said, no, I'm stopping the train here. That was quite a feat because I thought Stanford was going to go all the way, Nick.
Yeah, they were charging hard. Like you said, take a couple losses early and did a couple. We saw them a couple times kind of away from the coaches on the dock as a team, kind of circling the wagon, so to speak, and kind of resetting themselves. They had a couple substitutions, I believe, and used the full depth of their squad and came on real strong at the end.
Yeah, you saw them in the round of 8 and then again in the round of 4. They were often the team at the start when they hit the water. They would be doing, when other teams were getting tired, they were the ones out there practicing, working on their boat handling, communicating between the team before the start and after the finish. So obviously that paid off.
And of course, BC did well to get into the Final Four. They had moments where they really looked strong. They looked like they could do it. But they maybe just didn't have enough juice there, maybe not enough leadership, not enough seniors. I don't know. What were your thoughts, John?
They are pretty light on upperclassmen, so that may have played a little bit of a role. And they were solid all week, though. So, I would definitely hesitate to say that they did anything wrong. But it looks like, only one senior, Shelby Hamilton, moving on from that group. Everybody else will be back next year. They'll be definitely a team to watch next year for sure.
Without a doubt. And of course, the teams that didn't make it were really close to getting in. We had quite a few teams this morning that still woke up with the dream of getting to the Final Four. Who missed out in the bubble there, Nick?
First one coming to mind definitely is the College of Charleston Cougars. They're definitely, they wanted to be a Final Four team coming into this event, and just speaks to the depth of the competition. They had a couple tough losses. A couple maybe got away from them that they looking back will regret. But again, another young squad, and sometimes a loss like this or a kick on the shin is going to be good for them moving forward.
Roger Williams also a team that we were really hyped up about on day one. They showed us some really solid stuff. But they kind of slid a little bit towards the end of the regatta. I'm sure they're reevaluating what the cause of that was, and they'll be back next year looking real good.
Yeah, they were especially good in that northerly where we saw dramatic play changes, but dramatic shifts, and they were really strong in those play changes and being really decisive. I think maybe as the breeze turned southerly, got a little bit steady, it became a little bit more of a drag racing game, and at times I saw them get caught team racing maybe a little bit too much, getting caught down speed, and at times people were sailing around them as a result.
Go ahead.
I think we saw that at the start too. They were one of the teams with a very aggressive style on the starting line, and if it didn't work at the start, it was maybe a race over.
Of course, we didn't talk a lot about them, but they were right there, right up through today. Navy and Tufts And of course, we're lucky enough to have the legend Ken on the boat helping us out today for the finals. But really, those two teams we didn't say much about, but they kept it real.
They kept it mad real. Yeah, no, they were awesome. Tufts, I thought, made a really strong push middle of the regatta, but again, just kind of like Roger Williams, they couldn't close it out towards the end. Navy was there the whole time, and Navy was battling to get into the Final Four, almost made it. They'll be missing Michael Grove, as we mentioned. He's a big leader for their team, but everybody else is returning, and so they'll be another strong force next year.
Of course, we want to thank everybody at home for tuning in, watching, all the participating in the chat, keeping us in the know. We had a lot of big moves today. We had a move here from our beautiful studio here at the Alumni House in St. Mary's out onto the water. We fed our whaler a little go-go juice, and it became a nice big Hatteras. It'd give you a nice close point of view. But we have our favorite comments and want to thank all of you for shouting out. We had some really active chat boards.
Yeah, the chat board was cool. It was kind of on and off, but we tried to monitor it as best we could. And
they helped us a lot, too. I mean,
yeah,
we had a lot of moving parts, definitely trying to just keep the focus on the current race, and it was great to get some feedback on some of the permutations of the scores, when the regatta was locked up and who was fighting. So we needed your help, and we appreciate it.
They were working the calculators. They were way ahead of us.
Ian Stork was all over it, and then other people were definitely confirming. Andrew Waters was, asking those murky questions that we weren't willing to ask. Ryan Schmidt was all about BC all the time, biggest Eagle fan. Matty Cohen, I actually was editing Matty's questions. He had a lot of personal questions for you, Nick, about your upcoming nuptials, various things of that nature. So
thank you for editing.
I tried to keep those out of it.
Check the entertainment pages for all of Nick's big news.
There you go. We need a gossip blog on
the
side.
That's it, of course. Well, I'm sure it's all over Facebook. So, of course, we've in the last 4 or 5 days here, we've had two national champions. Dartmouth winning the women's, and of course Yale here at the team. Who had the best swim? Who had the best celebration? Which team?
Celebration is is a big part of the game. You got to be able to celebrate. And was it, Becca?
Well, you have to say it was a little tough for Yale because they wrapped it up with a fair amount of races to go. And it was pretty clear that they were the leaders for a long time. So there was a swim, I think, on the water, I don't know, this morning even, before the Final Four even started. And then this afternoon, the whole team ended up in the water. But I got to give it to Dartmouth. They were pretty unified in their jump, and it was pretty sweet.
Always nice to see the coaches jumping in and participating in the celebration. And, of course, it's a lot of hard work to get here. It's a long road to win a national championship. And congratulations to all those teams. And, it's not done for college national sailing. We have the Gill co-ed championship starting here tomorrow at St. Mary's. Let's do a little preview. What can we expect to happen in the co-eds?
Well, I was just thinking and talking to some of the other teams and how different teams are going to approach the semifinals a little bit differently. I think the teams that we saw in the Final Four are going to, for the team racing, are, they're going to somewhat look at the semifinals as a way to decompress a little bit after a really intense Final Four team racing championship. There are teams that are probably good enough that after a couple sets they could be in a pretty comfortable position to just kind of put it into cruise control and make it into the finals and step it up again for the finals.
Yeah, you might want to conserve some energy, if you're, especially these teams that have a really deep roster. If you can get out ahead a little bit, it's been a long regatta. Even these 3 days have been really long. So, conserve your best players, maybe give them a rest day, and then they can come out swinging for the finals. And then there'll be lots of teams that are fighting very hard just to get into the semifinals, or into the finals. With 18 teams in each semi, 9 moving on. There will be a serious bubble going there. There will be some stressed out coaches counting every point. And it's going to be crazy down here with 36 teams, 2 regattas going on simultaneously. I'll be out there judging and throwing yellow flags, so it should be fun.
So the pace, though, will slow down a little bit with 2 regattas going on simultaneously. That's going to mean that only one division out at a time, so it's going to be 2 on, 2 off.
Yeah.
So even if those starters don't get a break, the intensity will come back a little bit for the semifinals, and then when we break it down into 18 teams, ramps right back up again with every race being absolutely hotly contested, and both divisions out on the water at the same time.
And since you've been so hot with the predictions, Becca, any co-ed team, any co-ed predictions here for the national championship?
Well, we didn't really speak to, other than saying that Yale was out front the whole time, we didn't really speak to a lot of the things that they were doing really well. But they were sailing very consistently, I would say conservatively. They weren't really engaging at the start, and they were just using their speed and boat handling, which was clearly, a level above a lot of the other teams here. So I think those guys are going to be pretty speedy, and obviously they've gotten some good practice, and they're feeling pretty confident. So I think those guys are looking fairly good at the moment.
Keep your eye on Yale. Pretty cool. It's been amazing, for me to see such a high level of sailing and to be part of it. I want to thank all of you for helping me out, keeping me going, keeping me on track, educating me on the amazing game of team racing. And of course, the co-ed championships are going to be on ESPN. I think ESPNU or ESPN2. The world famous Gary Jobson's coming into town. I imagine tonight they're going to be shooting on the water. And I believe Gary said that that's going to air June 11 and 12. So check your local listings for the co-ed National Guild National Championships on ESPNU. Me personally, Dan Egan, I'd like to thank my director, Kent Rich, for all his hard work and putting this together. And, of course, our man, Colton Wright, for making it happen behind the scenes, all the daily videos and all that stuff. Thank you for checking us out on live stream. Make sure you continue to stay tuned for all the exciting action for the Gill 2014 Co-ed National College Championships. For me, Dan Egan, and the entire crew, thanks for watching.